At 92 years old, Tina Louise is the last surviving cast member of Gilligan's Island, and she's finally opening up about what really happened behind the scenes of the beloved sitcom. What started as a simple 3-hour tour became a television legend. But behind the laughter were network battles, CBS cancellation drama, and cast tensions that fans never saw. From Bob Denver to Ginger, Mary Ann, and the Howells, the story of Gilligan's Island is filled with surprising secrets. Now Tina Louise is breaking her silence as we uncover the truth behind the SS Minnow and the wild behind-the-scenes stories that helped make television history. Fans actually asked the Coast Guard to rescue the castaways. One of the strangest stories from Gilligan's Island involves viewers who believed the castaways were real. During the show's original run, some fans became so invested in the series that they treated it less like a sitcom and more like an actual emergency. The U.S. Coast Guard reportedly began receiving letters, phone calls, and telegrams from concerned viewers demanding to know why no rescue operation had been launched for the 7 stranded castaways. These weren't prank messages. Many people genuinely seemed worried that the group had been abandoned on a remote island. Roughly 10 weeks after the series premiered, a Coast Guard commander reportedly arrived at CBS carrying a collection of telegrams from concerned citizens. One message captured the mood perfectly. "We spend millions in foreign aid. Why not send one U.S. destroyer to rescue those poor people before they starve to death?" The situation left creator Sherwood Schwartz completely bewildered. After all, Gilligan's Island was clearly a comedy series complete with a laugh track. To him, it seemed obvious that the stranded castaways were fictional characters on a television set. How the Professor and Mary Ann finally made it into the theme song. One of the most famous changes in Gilligan's Island history happened because 2 cast members felt they had been overlooked from the very beginning. During the show's first season, the opening theme song introduced Gilligan, the skipper, the millionaire and his wife, and the movie star. But when it came time to mention the final 2 castaways, the lyrics simply referred to them as "and the rest." Although Professor Roy Hinckley and Mary Ann Summers appeared on screen, neither their characters nor the actors who played them were specifically named in the song or the opening credits. Not surprisingly, the omission didn't sit well with everyone. Being grouped together as the rest became a source of frustration for both Russell Johnson and Dawn Wells. Fortunately, they had an unexpected ally. Bob Denver, who starred as Gilligan and held the most leverage with the network, believed the situation was unfair. He pushed CBS to revise the theme song so that all 7 castaways would be recognized equally. When network executives hesitated because of the cost of re-recording the song and adjusting the credits, Denver reportedly offered a compromise. He was even willing to move his own billing position if it helped make room for the others. In the end, CBS agreed to change the song. Beginning with Season 2, the theme was re-recorded, and the famous final line became "The Professor and Mary Ann." It was a small change, but it meant a great deal to the cast. John Williams created a very different Gilligan's Island theme. Today, almost everyone recognizes the famous Gilligan's Island theme song, the catchy tune that begins with "Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale." But that wasn't the show's original theme at all. In the unaired pilot, viewers heard something completely different. A calypso-style song that gave the series a much more tropical, island resort feel. Even more surprising, the music was written by a young composer named Johnny Williams, who would later become world famous as John Williams, the legendary musician behind Star Wars, Jaws, Indiana Jones, and countless other classics. The song had another unusual twist. Rather than hiring a professional calypso singer, creator Sherwood Schwartz performed the vocals himself. Inspired by famous calypso artist Sir Lancelot, Schwartz sang the opening narration, telling the story of a group of vacationers who would soon become stranded. At that stage, however, the show looked very different from the version audiences eventually came to know. The lyrics described a 6-hour tour instead of a 3-hour tour, and several of the familiar characters had not yet been created. There was no Ginger, no Professor, and no Mary Ann. Instead, the passenger list included 2 secretaries and a high school teacher. The pilot itself was filmed on November 26, 1963, at Honolulu's Alawai Yacht Harbor, just 4 days after the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. In some of the opening footage, an American flag can be seen flying at half-staff, quietly capturing a moment of national mourning during the show's earliest days. When CBS decided not to move forward with the pilot, Schwartz went back to the drawing board. Together with composer George Weil, he developed a completely new opening song that introduced viewers to the castaways and told the story of their 3-hour tour. That version became one of television's most memorable theme songs. Meanwhile, the original Calypso theme faded into obscurity, becoming a little-known footnote in both Gilligan's Island history and the remarkable early career of John Williams, Tina Louise's long struggle with being Ginger. To millions of viewers, Ginger Grant was the glamorous movie star of Gilligan's Island, beautiful, confident, and seemingly unshakable no matter what challenges life on the island brought her way. But for Tina Louise, the actress behind the character, the experience was far more complicated. When Louise signed on to the series, she reportedly believed Ginger would be the central focus of the show. Instead, Gilligan's Island quickly evolved into a true ensemble comedy, with every cast member sharing the spotlight. As the series developed, Ginger was often written as a stereotypical Hollywood starlet, a direction that sometimes frustrated Louise. Having trained as a serious actress, she felt some of the character's early storylines relied too heavily on the glamorous, dumb blonde image that was popular at the time. As the show's success grew, so did her concerns about being typecast. Louise worried that casting directors would forever see her as Ginger and overlook the range she believed she could bring to other roles. Those concerns influenced many of her decisions after the series ended. When Gilligan's Island reunion movies were produced in the late 1970s and early 1980s, Louise chose not to return. As a result, Ginger was recast, first with Judith Baldwin and later with Constance Forsland. Her absence fueled rumors that she hated the show and regretted playing the role that made her famous. Money added another layer to the frustration. Like the rest of the cast, Louise reportedly earned about $1,500 per episode and received no residual payments. As Gilligan's Island became a syndication phenomenon and aired endlessly around the world, the actors who had made the show a success did not share in those long-term profits. Over time, however, Louise's feelings toward the series became more nuanced. In later interviews, she acknowledged that she enjoyed playing Ginger, especially after the writers began giving the character more depth and intelligence beyond the early stereotypes. The resentment that many people assumed she carried was often more complicated than simple dislike. After leaving Gilligan's Island behind, Louise built a successful and varied career. She appeared in films such as The Stepford Wives, wrote children's books, and devoted much of her time to charitable and philanthropic work. Yet no matter how many other accomplishments followed, audiences continued to associate her with Ginger Grant. Today, as the last surviving member of the original cast, Tina Louise has made peace with that legacy. After spending years trying to step out of Ginger's shadow, she eventually embraced the role that introduced her to generations of fans and secured her place in television history. Gilligan's Island almost starred Raquel Welch and Jerry Van Dyke. It's hard to imagine Gilligan's Island with a different cast, but the show came surprisingly close to looking very different. When producers were searching for the actress who would play Mary Ann, they considered a number of candidates, including future Hollywood star Raquel Welch. While Welch certainly had the talent and screen presence, producers felt she was simply too glamorous for the role. Creator Sherwood Schwartz wanted Mary Ann to feel like a genuine small-town farm girl from Kansas, sweet, relatable, and down-to-earth. In the end, Dawn Wells captured exactly what they were looking for, bringing a warmth and sincerity that helped make Mary Ann one of the show's most beloved characters. An even bigger casting surprise involved Gilligan himself. Before Bob Denver was hired, the role was reportedly offered to comedian Jerry Van Dyke, the younger brother of Dick Van Dyke. After reading the script, however, Jerry wasn't impressed. He allegedly called it the worst thing I've ever read and turned the part down. Instead, he chose to star in My Mother the Car, a sitcom built around the unusual premise of a man whose late mother returns as a talking automobile. While the show has since become famous as one of television's strangest flops, Gilligan's Island went on to become a pop culture phenomenon. That opened the door for Bob Denver, who was already familiar to audiences from the many loves of Dobie Gillis. Denver brought a lovable innocence and comedic charm to Gilligan, turning the clumsy first mate into the heart of the series and one of television's most recognizable characters. Although Jerry Van Dyke later enjoyed a successful career, particularly on Coach, he missed the opportunity to star in one of the most frequently rerun sitcoms in television history. Alan Hale Jr. kept filming with a broken wrist. Alan Hale Jr. brought the skipper to life with endless energy, physical comedy, and larger-than-life reactions. What many fans don't know is that he once endured a serious injury without telling anyone. During the first season of Gilligan's Island, Hale was performing a stunt that required him to fall from a palm tree. The stunt went wrong, and he broke his wrist. Rather than stop production or complain, he simply kept working. For weeks, Hale continued filming as if nothing had happened. He performed physical scenes, carried props, and took part in the show's demanding slapstick routines, all while quietly dealing with a broken wrist. Most of the cast and crew had no idea he was injured. The secret wasn't revealed until the season wrap party, when creator Sherwood Schwartz noticed Hale's swollen wrist and asked about it. Hale casually admitted that it had been broken for weeks. When Schwartz asked how he managed to keep working through the pain, Hale simply replied, "It wasn't easy." Only after filming ended did he finally receive a proper cast. And that wasn't his only on-set injury. In another episode, a bamboo ladder accident cut his ear badly enough to require bandaging. Gilligan's Island never had a fixed location. For a group of castaways stranded on one island for years, Gilligan's Island had a surprising habit of changing locations. Throughout the series, radio broadcasts and dialogue occasionally revealed coordinates for the island. The problem was that those coordinates rarely matched. In some episodes, the island seemed to be near Hawaii. In others, it appeared closer to Mexico or locations that didn't make sense geographically at all. Fans who later tried to pinpoint the island on a map quickly discovered that the numbers often contradicted one another. Creator Sherwood Schwartz eventually admitted that the writers never worried much about geography. If a story required the island to be near a shipping route, a foreign country, or the path of a storm, its location simply shifted to fit the plot. The filming locations added even more confusion. Different islands were used for various exterior shots, while many scenes were filmed on studio backlots in California. The result was a fictional island that could seem to be almost anywhere depending on the needs of a particular episode. In the end, the exact location of Gilligan's Island didn't really matter. To the writers, it was never a point on a map. It was simply the perfect setting for 7 castaways and their endless adventures. The famous lagoon was cold, dirty, and far from paradise. On television, Gilligan's Island looked like a tropical paradise. In reality, the famous lagoon was anything but. Built on the CBS Studio City lot in Los Angeles, the lagoon was essentially a shallow man-made pool surrounded by carefully placed palm trees and rocks. While it looked beautiful on camera, the water was often cold and unpleasant for the cast. Many scenes were filmed during the fall and winter, and without heating, temperatures could drop into the 40s and 50s. To cope with the chilly conditions, Bob Denver reportedly wore a wetsuit underneath Gilligan's costume during scenes that required him to get wet. The lagoon also had cleanliness issues. Stagnant water and algae frequently made it murky between shoots. According to cast stories, Denver and Alan Hale Jr. once dropped a fish into the water to see if it could survive. It didn't. Adding to the illusion, this remote tropical island sat just a short distance from busy Los Angeles streets. Traffic noise often interrupted filming, forcing retakes and extra sound work. The lagoon remained on the studio lot for decades after the show ended. But in 1995, the iconic set was filled in and replaced with a parking lot, bringing one of television's most famous imaginary locations to an unglamorous end. Jim Backus had a funny habit of forgetting his wallet. On Gilligan's Island, Thurston Howell III was a millionaire who never had to worry about money. Off-screen, however, actor Jim Backus developed a reputation for something quite different, constantly forgetting his wallet. Backus, who was already famous as the voice of Mr. Magoo, was known for his playful sense of humor. He often invited fellow cast members, including Dawn Wells and Natalie Schafer, out to lunch between filming sessions. But when the bill arrived, he frequently discovered that he had somehow left his wallet behind. At first, it seemed like an innocent mistake. After it happened again and again, it became an ongoing joke among the cast. The prank finally caught up with him at the end of the first season. During the wrap party, Natalie Schafer presented Backus with an itemized bill listing all the lunches he had never paid for. The total came to around $300, a significant amount at the time. According to cast stories, Backus burst out laughing when he saw it. Whether he was genuinely forgetful or simply enjoying a long-running joke, the story became one of the most memorable behind-the-scenes tales from Gilligan's Island, the millionaire who always seemed to need someone else to pick up the check. From cast friendships and network drama to surprising behind-the-scenes secrets, there's far more to this television classic than most fans ever knew. Which Gilligan's Island secret surprised you the most? And who was your favorite castaway? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more stories about Tina Louise and the untold truth behind Gilligan's Island.